Folks, how are you? This is Amar Sheth at Sales for Life. Welcome to another edition of the Social Influencer Series. Well, today I'm very happy to bring you a very special guest. This is Sander Biehn. Sander, how are you?
Great, Amar. Great to be with you.
I'm so happy you're here. Sander's incredible, and that's the reason why he's here. Sander is a career salesman. He's been working in Minneapolis, in Chicago. He's currently in Atlanta. He's lived in Amsterdam. He's an international man of mystery. And Sander, most recently, has been very well known because of his social selling efforts. And I think because of that tie-in, I'd like to talk to him, and that's why he's here for us. The other reason is this. Sander has just published his first book. He's now officially a published author. So congrats on that, Sander. And the book is
Thanks,
called,
Amar.
Sander, I'm going to have you introduce it, so go ahead.
Yeah, the book is called The 30-Year Paycheck, Destruction and Redemption in Corporate America. So it's kind of a lengthy title, but I think it's taking on a pretty hard-hitting topic and a topic that your listeners are going to be interested in.
So give us the premise of the book. What is it about? Obviously, from the title, I can kind of deduce what the general premise is, but, give us some details.
Yeah, okay, so the book, it follows actually a narrative. So it's written in a narrative type of manner. So it follows one fellow as he graduates from college and finds a career in sales. Just last week I was talking to a CEO up in Chicago, and we were talking about getting into sales and how we all got into sales. And, we kind of sheepishly shared with each other that I don't think a lot of people come straight out of college and think, you know what, I can't wait to get into sales. That's my number one thing to do. While sales is a great career and it's been very fulfilling for me, we all kind of fall into it. So this book is the story of how this character, this fictionalized character, falls into a job in sales, and then kind of what happens from there, what he learns, what decisions he makes, both good and bad, and what sorts of things he runs into in corporate America. So the premise of the book, from my perspective, was this book is actually a long time in the making. After about 20 years of working, like you said, as a career salesperson in a lot of different roles, what I started to find out is the experience that I had, the things that happen in a large company in corporate America seem to be kind of universal. So people sort of face the same challenges, the same things happen to them in the workplace, and not all of them are real positive. And what I had come to a place in time with was that I had sort of found my way around some of the major challenges that I had been facing for the last 20 years. And I wanted to share with people just how to get around those and what companies, what people need to do, what employees need to do in order to beat what I call the 30-year paycheck, which is just kind of marching in line, hoping for one day to retire, and always afraid that you might be the next person crossed off the list from a PIP perspective, performance perspective, or from a layoff perspective.
Yeah, Sander, I think the topic is so timely. I think the way, Seth Godin, I talk about Seth Godin way too much, by the way, but I love his work. And I think Seth Godin has kind of talked about the whole connection economy, right? This entire world that we live in it's changed. It's definitely not our grandparents' world. It's definitely not the world of our parents. And I think all of us, our systems, our procedures, our corporate environments, I hate to use this term, but quite frankly, we're all being raised to be sheeple, right? Sheep that essentially move along, take orders, do assembly line, Ford manufacturing type work. This is the role of this person, this is the role of that person. And I'm not knocking it. I've done it my entire life, okay? But I think that corporations have to change, and that's why, again, if the folks can't figure out, this is the selfish motive I had to invite Sander on this series, because it allows me to talk about this very controversial topic. I think a lot of corporations today are sleeping at the wheel, quite frankly. So what's your take on all of this? And I know here's the million-dollar question for you, my friend, right? Let's just be very candid. Is there a little bit of Sander inside this fictional narrative that you have inside the book?
Well, let's just say there might be a lot of Sander. There's definitely a lot from an experiential perspective of the things I saw, and you've hit the nail on the head. Corporations are crying out for innovation. Corporations need people to help them to move along and to figure out what the next things are going to be. But at the same time, corporations are afraid to give the reins to the individual. And I like to say that, especially in the world of social media, which is where I dabble now, that we live in an age of the individual. And it's imperative that as individuals that we pick up our individuality and we start to show it, because really that's where we do our best. If we are trying to be somebody else, that is going to be toxic for us. And I speak about this in the book, The Character, and this mirrors my life. I spent years trying to be my vice president. I spent years trying to be my manager, and so in order that I might get ahead, in order that I might be given the nod. But what I realized is the more I tried to be somebody else, the more I actually was nobody. And this book is about how corporations need to try to harness that power of the individual, and how individuals need to wake up a little bit and really start to be themselves in the corporate environment, so that that innovation that we all need can be manifest.
Yeah, and I think that's a beautiful way of explaining it. Thank you. I think that's the redemptive part of the title in your book, right? I think the redemption happens when individuals, all of us as collective workers, realize that we are unique creatures with unique gifts. We all have different things to bring to the table, if you will. And it's by owning who we are and what we can bring that we have this, this sounds really corny and cheesy that two sales guys are talking about corporate enlightenment, but that is the enlightenment, right, Sander? Right? This is the enlightenment that we're talking about, where an individual, a salesperson specifically realizes that I don't need to be like my manager. I don't need to be like my vice president. I can be myself because the gifts that I bring to the table are unique, and the corporation will benefit tremendously from them. So I think for you, the title is the 30-year paycheck. And I'm hoping that this discussion and us sharing this interview with social media, etc., inspires people to really think that let's not wait 30 years, team. Let's not wait 30 years. Let's do it now. Let's try to bring about our individuality now. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on your book.
Absolutely, and you owe it to yourself. And the other thing is, if you were ever to get in the elevator, go to the top floor, and then walk into the corner office and have a conversation with the CEO that's sitting in there, he or she would say to you, you know what, this is not a matter of, you feeling touchy-feely good about yourself and, being able to live with yourself and be able to get out of bed effectively in the morning, although I want that too. What I really need is this. I need your gray matter. Because this company is not going to be able to move into the future when we're facing competitors like Google and Apple and people who are willing to innovate and willing to do anything, to try anything, to see where the future is going to take us. The social media has democratized in workplace. It's democratized the way that we share information and ideas. And if we're not going to take advantage of these things, it will really be the death of the corporation. So this is a life or death type of matter, both for corporations and, in my opinion, also for employees.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think furthermore, Sander, that the democratization of that information, it is going to shake up corporations completely. If you look at what information has done, Thomas Friedman wrote The World is Flat, right? Many, many years ago, where he talked about how one simple technology, which is the internet, has flattened the entire world. And I believe social media is now social media is adding complexity to that equation. So it's not just the internet now, it's the connectivity of people on the internet. So you have to take advantage of this. So if you're a salesperson listening to Sander and I right now, and Sander, interject here if you'd like, but here's the takeaway from all of this, I think. Number one, be yourself. Be proud of who you are. Number two, express your gifts at all costs, at all times, right? Expansion in all ways, always. I think that's a saying that I'd love to hear. And thirdly, find ways to creatively connect with consumers and buyers today. It's no longer just about, the traditional ways of doing things, although that they work, etc., but your buyers are evolving, right? So if you're not evolving with that, where are you really headed? So I think the status quo stigma that salespeople have today and that corporations have kind of put over them, that's what's really going to hold not just companies, but individual people back.
Yep. And I would just follow on by saying that, if you need more incentive, it's going to be something that your corporation is going to be looking for. And the people that will flourish in the future are the ones that are delivering the innovation to their corporations. And this is a great opportunity to do it. That's the only thing I would add to that.
Yeah, totally. Sander, any parting thoughts? So why don't you give us, Sander, are we allowed to talk about what the last year we weren't allowed to talk about?
No, we absolutely could talk about everything we are allowed to talk about.
Okay, so folks, if you don't know Sander Biehn, this guy is a social selling monster. He is the Godzilla of social selling. In fact, to date, I don't know any single individual on planet Earth who has closed more business using social selling than this man before you. And if you're wondering what that number is, it's $47 million. Just let
We'll
that
just
sink.
round it to 50. We'll just
Yeah.
round it to 50, Amar.
Sure, yeah, $50 million. Yeah, what's a couple of mil, right, when you're that much? So I wanted to have Sander for a couple of reasons, as I said. I think number one, Sander exemplifies and embodies that innovation that we've been talking about in this interview. And secondly, the title of his book is so powerful, and I urge all of you to pick up a copy at Amazon. We're going to leave a link for you down here in the blog. So I urge all of you to check out the copy of the book and leave us some feedback here. Email me, email Sander. I'm sure he'd love to hear from you. Sander, any other parting words as I let go of my diatribe?
Yeah, no, Amar, all I'd like to say is this book was written for anybody who's had trouble getting out of bed in the morning, who's wondered where their career is going, and who's looking for answers, who's been really searching for answers in a complicated work environment. But thank you very much for having me today.
My pleasure. And folks, I hope you've really enjoyed this chat. And Sander, hopefully we can get you back in the next 6 months to a year just to do an update on what you're doing. So thanks again for being
I would
here.
love to. Thanks so much, Amar.
All right. Have a great day.
You too.